I was on a train the other day and I saw these words, risk something or sit with your dreams forever. And those words sort of stuck with me because at the heart of organizing is this notion of risk taking. And in these sorts of conversations, I find that we tend, however, to focus on the dreaming part of that quote. That I'm a dreamer. I love to dream. You give me a good hour and I can dream up all kinds of stuff. You give me a good conversation, I can dream up a whole new world if you let me. I can dream of whole new cities and new governments and how to fix everything and nothing at all. I can really dream some stuff up. But the thing I've come to realize, though, is that it's really easy to dream. I mean, we can sit in this room all day and we can dream up a lot. And it's good stuff, tantalizing stuff. You're like, yo, I want that for myself, for my family, for my children, for my community. And we can dream all day. Risk something or sit with your dreams forever. And what is good about this room and what I have gathered so far is that we have a room of dreamers. We got folks who can engineer some new worlds in their minds at their tables. We can talk about it and we get really passionate about it. What remains to be seen, and my skepticism, be mindful of it, is that I wonder if we have any risk takers in this room. See, I know we have people who can talk about what the problems are, and we can pontificate about what we might do to solve them. But I wonder if in this room in Orlando, I wonder if we have any folks who are risk takers. See, because we cannot hope to change the world unless we are willing to take some risks. Don't get nervous. Stay with me. You're like, oh no, I ain't come here for all that. I came here to have a good conversation. That we dream of cities, a state, a country where young people have access to quality public education is worthwhile and powerful. But it begs the question, what are we willing to risk? What are we willing to do? How are we willing to make ourselves uncomfortable? Is the dream worth it? That we dream of cities and a state and a country where educators are paid well for their service and their work is a worthwhile dream, but it begs the question, what are we willing to risk in order to make that dream a reality? That we dream of cities and a state and a country where we invest in public education and equity and an end to the school to prison pipeline is a worthwhile dream. But it begs the question, what are we willing to do? What are we willing to risk in order to make that dream a reality? Do we have any risk takers? Oh, I don't know. I'm asking you that question. See, none of what we're talking about here today is all that new or impossible. It's all good stuff. It's all democratic stuff. It's as Randy talked about, it's stuff that when we poll people, the majority of people in this country actually agree with us. And yet here we are struggling to figure out how we make these dreams central to what our government does. And so the question is, it's not about dreaming. It is about cultivating a willingness to take risks. And what are risks? Sometimes we hear risk and we go, I don't want to take no risk. I want to stay right here where it's comfortable, where it's familiar. I want to know what I'm doing. But risks aren't inherently dangerous. Risk taking is about calculating the odds and being willing to do something new. Risk taking is not about being reckless or careless with our resources and our time. Risk taking is about analyzing and evaluating. If we do this, then we can do that. What do we have to shift or change in order to materialize the world we have been dreaming about? And so the question remains, do we have any risk takers? See, here's the thing. The risk we have to take is the risk of building power. And I know I've been talking a lot to your president, and I know that we sometimes are afraid of this notion of building power and being powerful, and power sometimes makes us uncomfortable, and I don't want to be in them kind of room. But if we don't take the risk to build the kind of power that bends the political mechanism in our direction, the children that we love are going to lose the future that they deserve. Love is impotent without the willingness to take some risks. Goodwill is not enough. Right? The way that we have changed the world has always been by the willingness of everyday people to do some stuff they have not done before. We change the world not by simply willing it to be, but we must take action, every single one of us in this room. The risk we must take is talking to people who don't look like us. Okay? Yeah. White folks talking to black folks, and black folks talking to white folks, and straight folks talking to gay folks, and cisgender folks talking to trans folks. Like we've got to actually build religious folk talking to non-religious folk, citizen folk talking to immigrant folk, passenger folk talking to Uber driver folk. We've got to begin to have conversations that challenge us to interact with different kinds of people. That is how we change the world. Everybody talking about changing the world. I mean, every other person, I'm going to change the world. The question is, do we have any folk willing to take? Do we have any folk willing, when we get home for Thanksgiving, to raise some difficult conversations and say, I don't agree with that, Pastor Turkey, but I don't agree with you. And here's why I don't agree with you. Do we have any folks willing to show up in legislative bodies and to talk to our legislators and to say, I know you go maybe not like me a lot because I'm going to tell you the truth, but I'm here to tell the truth for the babies I love. Is anybody willing to challenge administration to say that is not the right decision to make? Is anybody willing to put their bodies in the line of fire so that justice can be realized? Do we have anybody in this room willing to take some risks? Justice is not ushered in simply because we will it to be so. If wishes were horses, then all of us would fly. It is not enough. It is not enough. It is not enough. So we got to take some risk. The risk we must take is we got to confront power where power resides. The risk we must take is we've got to talk to our neighbors, the folk we don't really like, and they cook all that funny stuff, and I don't know what they're doing. We got to talk to those folks. And we must recruit them to our politics. The risk we must take is when we say, the school board, I don't really know if they're with us. The risk we must take is some of you've got to run for office and say, I'm going to be on the school board. Because in order for the political system to move in our direction, then some of us have got to take the risk of being uncomfortable, holding on to some of that power. Some of us have got to become leaders in our union, shop stewards. Some of us have got to start talking to our colleagues and saying, I see what you're doing. I don't agree. Here is why. I went to this conference, this summit, and I learned some stuff, and I want to talk to you about what I learned. Risk something or forever sit with your dream. Some people walk into this room and your colleagues would say, oh, he or she, they're really quiet. They don't say much. They don't cause no trouble. I sat at a table. I forget where you are. And she said, I'm such a, I play by the rules. Some of us have got to play less by rules that oppress us and be willing to be a little bit uncomfortable. Oh, they say we can't do that by law. Maybe some of us have got to say, well, screw the laws. Because if the laws are forces of oppression, then maybe some of us have got to be willing to take the risk to do something different. I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to me. I'm talking to your neighbor. I'm not, you lie, I'm not taking no risk. So we came today and we heard good stuff. And we feel energized and we feel good and we feel motivated and we feel full. But as you leave here, what kind of risks are you going to take? How are you going to be different when you leave this room? When I walked in fact, I was part of some of the conversations around as folks were planning this meeting. And the goal was somewhere over 1,000. And I walked in today and I heard that 1,300 people registered for this event. Yo, amazing. 1,300 people are registered for this event. We have the attention, I know more than this, but of at least 1,300 people. Do we have some math teachers in the room? I studied English. I'm going to do some math. I don't know what I'm doing, so y'all help me. What's 1,300 times 100? She's like 130,000. Hello, like, who don't know that? In a year, the average person has just about that many new conversations about your favorite show. Y'all watch Game of Thrones? Like, girl, did you watch that Sunday? Right? On average. What would happen if the 1,300 people registered for this conference said that in the next year, we will each commit to having at least 100 conversations about what we experienced here today and recruiting those people to our side of the debate? That would be 8 conversations a month. That's your mama and them. That's your Uber driver and them. That's your students and them. That's their parents and them. That's your cousins and them. That's the folks in your Bible study group and them. That's your church choir. If each person in this room says we are the front line of this army to protect public education, and a part of our job is to be the advanced guard, to be the folks who go ahead and say we have to build an army that can show up in Tallahassee and bend the political will in our direction. And if we showed up with our 130,000 people strong and say you will not dismantle public education on our watch. I mean, you tell me, am I laying out something that sounds impossible? Like, I can't have that many cars. I got stuff to do. I got meals to prep. I got gym, But think about it. What would happen if you said, yo, I'm leaving this room and the stuff I heard, the analysis I got, the wins we have to get, I'm going to recruit 100 people to this fight. Right? I'm going to build my circle of activists so that when it comes time, when the president says we got to go to Tallahassee, you say, yo, I got you 100. That is how we build a movement. Everybody talking about movement building, but ain't nobody building no movement. We do not wish movements into existence. We come up with a rap, we knock on some doors, we talk to people who don't look like us, we make an ask of them, we provide a way for them to take action, to demonstrate their political development, and we win some stuff for ourselves, for our communities, and we show this country the way forward. Are you with me, Florida? Something happens when we realize that the 1,300 people who registered for this meeting are not in the minority. I'm 36 years old, and there was a time in my political development where I would die. I'm a radical. I'm a radical. I'm ready. I was ready, and I come from different movements. So I'm a radical. I'm here. And the thing I've been rethinking. And I'm in dialogue with you, so I may be wrong. Don't come for me after for your radical label, But when I think about the stuff that Becky Pringle talked about, when I think about the stuff that Randy talked about, when I think about where your president, when I think about what I heard your vice president, everything we've heard today, the stuff you all have been doing in your groups, the thing I realize, and I may be wrong, Becky, but stick with me. The thing I realize is that these are not radical ideas. When we say that teachers should be paid well, that is not a radical idea. When we say that we should invest in our public education system, that is not a radical idea. When we say that charter schools should not take money from public schools and divest from them, that is not a radical idea. When we say that young people should go to school and not end up in prisons, that is not a radical idea. When we say that education must be the litmus test for determining our political agenda, these are not radical ideas. We are no longer in the fringe of the conversation. The public is with us. Our job is to organize them into a powerful force that cannot be messed with. And you are the front lines of that. And this summit is the beginning of, or the continuation of that process. We can't leave here and do the same stuff. I wanted to, we can't leave here and do the same stuff. And so every person in this room, if you're with me, I want to see your hands. I'm going to have some conversations with folk. I'm with, who's that? I'm with you. I'm going to have some conversations with my people. I'm going to recruit them to our side of the debate. I'm going to be the voice in my schoolhouse, in my district. Yo, Fred, you can count on me. Put me on the list. I'm one of your organizers now. You just grew your organizing staff by 1,300. If you're with me, raise your hand. So we're going to have some difficult conversation. We're going to recruit people to our side. And we're going to build the kind of groundswell that when it shows up in Tallahassee, they're going to say, what done happened now? They're going to say, we done awakened a sleeping giant. Are you with me? No, are you really with me? Yo, can we count on you? Like, can we for real count on you? You hear what she said? I'll leave you on this note. Every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up. The gazelle knows that it must outrun the fastest lion or it will be killed. Every morning in Africa, a lion wakes up. It knows it must outrun the slowest gazelle or it will starve. It does not matter whether you're a lion or a gazelle. When the sun comes up, you better be caught running. We're going to run towards equity. We're going to run towards our neighbors. We're going to run towards our church folk. We're going to run towards folk who don't look like us. And we are going to have the hard conversations that invite people to join our fight. And when the time comes, we're going to build local coalitions. When the time comes, we're going to show up in Tallahassee. When the time comes, we're going to run towards the action and say, you got to get past me if you're going to have your way with public education. Are you with me? Can we count on you? Say yes. Can we count on you? Can we count on you? Thank you so much.